Hello guys. So this is the fourth session in a series I'm doing on web development and specifically the web server. And we've basically been following the web server kind of historically. So we started with the Apache web server and just serving static HTML, CSS files. That would have been kind of the kind of websites that would be created in the very early days. And then we had a look at how do we add code into our website. So how do we write some scripts and add some scripts into our website? And we looked at how to add a contact us page into our website using CGI and using the CGI bin folder by putting a script into the CGI bin folder. And next, what we're going to look at is how do we actually put scripting code right into our HTML files to make it a lot easier to add code and to add dynamic functionality right into our HTML files. So this is pretty much what we want to achieve. For example, if we've got a web page which is a product catalog and it's displaying a list of products which a customer might come along and buy on an online shop, those products and that product catalog is most likely going to be stored in a database so that it can be updated easily by people who are not web developers. In other words, you could create a nice bunch of forms which the shopkeeper can use to maintain his product catalog, so he doesn't need to go and edit HTML files. But anyway, you've got your product catalog sitting in a database, all of your products sitting in a database, and when a customer comes along to your online shop and wants to view your product catalog, what the web server needs to do is the web server needs to go to the database, get the list of products out of the database, and construct an HTML file to return to the user. And that's basically what we want to achieve with HTML templates. So let's take a look at what the actual file would look like, which would generate this product catalog. So what you can see is in white, I've got plain old HTML, and in yellow I've got some scripting code. Okay, so you can see I've got a heading here. It's the product catalog. So this is effectively this is the code for this HTML page. Okay, so I've got the heading, product catalog, and then for each of my products, for each of these product blocks, here it is. Here's the div. So remember, div is basically just a block. Okay, and I've got the image, and for the actual image source, so the path to the image file, I'm pulling that using a script. I'm pulling that out of the database, and I've got a heading for the product title. Okay, so that would be this here, and that product title I'm pulling out of the database using a script. So product.title. The product description I'm pulling out using a script as well. And you can see what I've done is I've wrapped this block in a for each loop. There's the beginning and there's the end of the loop. So what that's going to do is for each product, it's going to create one of these blocks. Right, so let's go ahead and write some PHP code. This, by the way, this is not PHP code. I've just put some pseudocode in here just to make it simple to explain. But let's go ahead and write some PHP code. Right, so here's the website that we've been using, our Airguns website. And what I'm going to do, this website is completely static. It's all just HTML. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come through the handguns category, and I'm going to make this this file, which is in the handguns folder, and it's the file index.html. Okay, I'm going to make this into a PHP HTML template, and I'm going to get this product data out of a database. So let's go ahead and do that. Right, so here's my website source files, and this is the this is the handguns page, right? And I can come along and change something in here just to show you that it actually is. Okay, right, so that is the source for this page. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little database. So to keep things simple, I'm actually just going to use a file. And my file is going to be called data.php. I'm going to actually stick that file straight into, yeah, I'll leave the file there, that's fine. And inside this file, I'm just going to set up some data. So I've got that data prepared. I'm just going to grab it, grab the prepared data. So I'm not going to go into much detail on PHP syntax. There's plenty of resources online for you to learn PHP syntax. And I will put some links at the end of the video for where you can go and learn more about PHP. But basically, you'll notice that a PHP script always starts with this opening tag. Okay, angle bracket question mark PHP. That tells Apache that I'm about to start writing some PHP script. And here's the closing tag that says I'm finished writing PHP script. Okay, and you can see what I've done in here is I've created I've declared a variable called products. The way you declare variables in PHP is you prefix your variable with $. Okay, and my product variable is an array. Okay, and my array contains another array, okay, called handguns. Okay, so that's for the category handguns, and the handguns contains an array, and that is an array of products. Okay, so there's a product. Product has got an ID, it's got a title, an image, and a description. And you'll notice that I've taken the data straight off of here. I've copied the data straight off of here. Okay, so this is the exact same data in this database that we had on this page. And I'm just going to save that. Right, so the next step I need to do is I need to come through to my handguns page that I want to turn into an HTML template, and I need to tell the Apache web server that this is a PHP template by changing the extension of this file from HTML to PHP. Okay. Now you'll notice that if I come through here and just change this to PHP as well, it looks exactly the same, because if there's no script, if there's no PHP script in here, then the Apache just returns that HTML file. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to now turn this into an HTML template. So these products, these product divs or product blocks are going to be generated now dynamically by my script. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all but one of them out. Okay, and I'm going to use this one to create my template. Okay, so each of the products is going to have the same structure. That's why it's called a template. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start replacing these values, these static values, with values that I'm going to pull out of my database. Okay, but before I do that, I've got some work that I need to do just to import the database. So I want to import my database, this file here, okay, this file down here, and I need to do that like this. So I'm going to write some PHP script, and the file, the function that I use to import this data into this page is the require function. And now I need to give it the path to this file, and this file is 2 folders back. So I need to go back 1, back 2 to data.php. And then I need to tell Apache that that I'm finished writing my script. Okay, otherwise it's going to think that all of this is scripting, PHP scripting as well, and I do that by closing it off with that closing tag. Okay, so now what I've done is I've imported all of this. I've taken all of this and I've imported it into the top of my file like that. Okay. The next thing I need to do is I need to set up my loop. So for each of these products, I'm going to be outputting some HTML like this. So I do that by writing some PHP, and I need to create a for each loop. And the way that the syntax is structured is so I'm going to be working with my products variable that I've declared here, and I'm interested in the handguns array inside of this products array. And the way that I get that is by going $products handguns. And for each of these handgun product objects, I'm going to store that in a variable called product. Okay. Right. So I'm going to be looping through this array one at a time, and the actual object itself is going to be sitting in this variable here called product. Now I just need to close off my loop. Okay, so every time I loop, I'm going to be executing this and outputting one of these blocks of HTML, and I close off my loop like this. Okay, so that is the closing bracket to this here. And let's just see what that looks like if we execute that. Okay, so you can see we've got 5 products. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same as the number of products we have here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they all have the same content. And that's because it's all still hard-coded. It's all still static content. So let's start replacing this with the values in our database. So I'm going to replace the static content with some scripting. So I need to tell Apache that I'm going to be writing some PHP script now. And the way that I output some text into my HTML is using the echo command. So I'm going to echo the product title, and I need to tell Apache that I'm now finished writing PHP. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Right, and you can see the titles are now the titles from my database. Okay, and let's go ahead and let's change the other static values. So image, description, and this image description is also going to be the title. Okay, so now what I've done is I've replaced the static content with script, and the script is outputting the values from my database, which are then going to be inserted into this HTML. Okay, and you can see what's happened is it's now changed these values. All the descriptions are the same in the database, but the images have now changed. And if I have a look at this source code, you can see what's come through is only HTML. So the Apache web server has processed all of this scripting, all of this script on the server side. It's executed, processed it. All of these echo statements have outputted these values from the database. Okay,
and what comes through to the user is only HTML. So all of the script has been executed and has been removed, and what comes through to the user is just the outputted HTML.
Right, so PHP and HTML templates really made it very easy to add code into your website. But it actually also made it very easy to make quite a common mistake when you're creating your websites. Now, when you create an application, one of the keys to being able to understand and maintain your application over time and as it grows is you need to know how to split up the files that make up your application. So how do you break up your application logically so that it's not just one big bunch of code, right? But so that it's modules of code which you can think about separately and which you can maintain separately. That makes maintaining your website or maintaining your any software application a lot easier. And what you want to do with your website is you want to separate out your view layer and your logic layer. And what I mean by view layer is if you think about the website we created in the first video that was just pure static HTML, CSS, and images, that's your view layer. Your logic layer is all of your code. Okay, and by code, what I'm talking about is the code that, for example, in the case of an online shop, the code that would calculate your shipping price, or the code that would calculate your discounts for regular customers, or the code that would decide what featured products to show this customer based on their purchase history, or whatever other bits of clever code that you have in your program. That's your logic layer. PHP makes it very easy to make the mistake of putting both of these types of code into one file. So here's an example of a PHP file that includes logic, right, like this calculate shipping price function, and HTML template. Okay, so you can see there's HTML. There's HTML in here. Okay, so this is HTML template, but then there's also actual business logic, right? If you design your applications and code your applications in this way, over time, as the applications grow, they become very difficult to understand and to read, and very difficult to maintain. So what you want to do is you want to create a nice separation where you have your logic sitting in separate files, okay, nicely separated out into sensible modules, okay, and in your views you want to import the modules that you require. So you can see here I'm requiring the shipping calculator module, right? And all I'm doing in this file is this is just an HTML template. So all I'm doing here is I'm taking the shipping price and I'm just putting that shipping price into my HTML. So there's no logic in here. This is what you might call a logicless template, and that's pretty much what you want to go for. So if you want to learn more about PHP, all you need to do is go to Google and search for PHP, or go to YouTube and do a search for PHP, and you'll find tons of resources. One of the resources that I recommend is this one from W3 Schools, and I always recommend, if you want to learn a language, go get a good book. So go onto Amazon, have a look at what the most popular book is for the language, and get yourself a book and sit down and read the book. I find that having a good theoretical understanding of a language before you actually start working with it seriously makes a really big difference in the long run. And finally, I'd really love your feedback. What did you think of the video? What was good about it? What could be improved? Or also, what would you you know, suggestions for other topics that I might cover. And if you like the video, give it a like. And if you want to keep up with, be notified when I do new videos, you can go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for listening.